John Thune is the United States Senator from South Dakota. He joins us now. Senator, good to have you on the program.
Good morning, Maria.
I'd really like to zero in on the Turkey element and how important Turkey is to winning this. But before that, can you characterize where we are in this battle right now? Is ISIS, in fact, winning?
Well, it's certainly not losing, Maria. We're finding what the limitations of air power are. There's only so much that can be accomplished with that. And as you pointed out, it's really important to get the Turks involved. They've laid out some conditions for that. But I think the president and his team, the administration, need to be working aggressively and intensify their efforts to get the Turks and coalition partners involved on the Turkey-Syria border and trying to prevent ISIS from gaining any more ground.
So Turkey wants the U.S. to create a no-fly zone over Syria. Is that doable?
Well, I think it's something that the administration needs to consider. Obviously, there are other implications, as you mentioned, associated with that. But I think that the buffer zone, the no-fly zone, all the things that are being contemplated right now need to be given serious consideration simply because what we're doing right now isn't getting the desired effect. Now, ultimately, my view is, and I think most military experts is, that you're not going to succeed or ultimately succeed there without some sort of ground forces. But at least for the time being, as long as we're using airstrikes, I think we need to look at all these options, particularly if they're options that will engage our coalition partners in a way that will help us ultimately succeed. I don't think that we can get this done by ourselves, and we certainly can't get it done with air power.
Well, I'd really like to know if we will see a congressional resolution on more military power. I want to talk about that with you, Senator, so stay with us because we want to go there. But first, let's take a look at Turkey as this battle for Kobani takes place right on its doorstep. Fox News senior correspondent Eric Shawn with that angle. Good morning to you, Eric.
Good morning, Maria, and good morning, everyone. If ISIS wins, the West will lose. So warns a Kurdish official. An estimated 12,000 Kobani residents are now stranded. 700, mostly elderly, remain trapped inside, helpless, their fates up to those invading terrorists. As the siege continues, an ISIS victory would bring a huge symbolic triumph. Those Turkish tanks remain idle, though, watching yards away like bystanders, doing nothing amid fears of a looming slaughter unfolding before the eyes of the world. Turkish President Erdogan blocking a lifeline to help the Kurds, prompting some to question if Ankara really is a NATO ally, saying he has Kurdish blood on his hands.
We should be really thinking about whether they belong in NATO. More importantly, I think there just has not been a public discussion about this, letting the Turks know how unhappy we are.
You know, the U.S. has supplied more than $20 billion in arms sales to Turkey since 2006. And while presidential envoy retired U.S. General John Allen held 2 days of talks in Ankara that were described as constructive and detailed, others, like Investors Business Daily, are blunt about Turkey's defiance. Quote, it could squash Islamic State warriors. Instead, it does nothing. And the White House is befuddled. The naive Obama administration needs to recognize that Turkey, once a key friend and ally, is neither today.
It is a matter of days unless the Western nations do something. And this is, it is a really shame that here an organization like ISIS can defeat the whole Western nation, the whole civilization, and the whole United States as a superpower. This is a morale of the United States at stake, and I don't understand why the White House is not doing enough.
Well, the Turkish ambassador to the United States insists his nation is fully supporting the coalition, and he calls criticism groundless and unfair. Turkey has agreed to train 2,000 Syrian rebels on its soil, but those tanks overlooking Kobani are still there. Their gears remain stuck in park. Maria?
All right, Eric, thanks very much. Eric Shawn, and we've got more now with Senator Thune. And, Senator, what about that? Is Turkey actually supporting the coalition, in your view?
Well, this commitment they made to allow some space for training the Syrian opposition is a welcome development, but they've got to become way more robust in this, Maria. There's no question about that. Turkey is a NATO country. This could be a humanitarian crisis, a disaster with massive civilian casualties if Kobani falls. There are historic reasons with the Kurds for why I think Turkey is reluctant to engage more, but without their engagement, this thing gets out of hand in a hurry. And the more territory that ISIS takes, the more emboldened they become. They're fighting a dual-front battle now in Anbar province, west of Baghdad. This is a situation that demands some very aggressive action, and I think the administration really needs to intensify and double down their efforts to get the Turks more engaged. And I would all add to that, other of our NATO and coalition partners need to start putting pressure on the Turks as well.
But, you know, we've heard from the Turks, and they've said, we're not going to put boots on the ground when the U.S. doesn't even have boots on the ground. The bottom line here now, it's up to Congress. Will Congress vote on an extended resolution for extended military beyond the airstrikes in Iraq and Syria?
Well, we need to have that vote, Maria, and you know, right now, most of us, I supported before Congress left the training of the Syrian rebels, but there needs to be a more complete discussion about the president's strategy, and it starts with the president. The president is the commander-in-chief. Step up and provide some leadership. Come to Congress with a request and show us the plan, show us the strategy for how we're going to succeed. And I think the people of this country need to be heard from. That, of course, comes from their elected representatives in the Congress. In 1991, that was the case. In 2001 and 2002. Obviously, the president has certain authorities, I believe, under those authorizations for the use of military force to do what he's doing today. But I think there are a whole lot of people in this country and a whole lot of members of Congress that need to be a part of this discussion. And I hope that the president will lay out a plan, bring it to Congress, and ask for that authorization for the use of military force. And I think Congress needs to vote. We all need to vote. We all need to be on the record about whether or not we're for this action or not. But it starts with a plan. It starts with the administration coming before the Congress and presenting a real strategy, one that hopefully will involve and engage the voices of the American people in the process.
Well, it is pretty extraordinary that many people believe that we won't see any vote until the new Congress takes over in January. I mean, this is an emergency situation. But let me put that aside for a moment. We do have the midterms coming up in a few weeks. How confident are you that the GOP takes the Senate?
Well, I'm pretty confident, but, you know, I'm Scandinavian, so, you know, I always tend to be, the glass is always half full. But, you know, I look at the around the country, and I've been traveling. I was in Colorado this last week and in California raising money, and Iowa the week before. We've got some really good candidates who are running really good campaigns, and I think there's a bit of a tailwind building out there, and certainly if it continues to build, I think we're going to have a very good night on November the 4th, and that would be good for the country, because we need to get the majority in the Senate so we can start turning this country around, getting people back to work, putting pro-growth policies into place, and providing leadership for the American people. Right now, the Senate, for all intents and purposes, is shut down. It's become incredibly dysfunctional under Senator Reid's leadership. We need to change that, and if people in this country want a change of direction, the best place to do that right now is to change the majority in the United States Senate. So I'm confident in our prospects. I think that the races look very good. Our candidates are well positioned to win, but that's why you play them. You've got to execute the game plan. You can't make unforced errors down the stretch, and we've got some very competitive races going on right now.
Senator, we'll be watching. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be with you. Thanks, Maria.
We'll see you soon. Senator John Thune, one of the